Hello and welcome to the War on Error. I'm Graham Hughes. This is the error. Perhaps it's me. I don't know. It is Thursday, the 26th of January, 2023. Hello to everyone out there. We've got Lefty Boater, we've got John Barleycorn, we've got David, we've got Freckle Puny, we've got Graham Haller, we've got John Barleycorn again, we've got Tim Ballon, we've got Yaxi55, we've got Graham Haller again, and Asperger's Europe. Yo, hi everyone. And if anyone else wants to say hello, feel free to drop into the chat anytime. We're open. Just, keep the comments pleasant, which actually most people do. It's remarkable that I don't really tend to get much in the way of trolls on here. But that's because probably not many people watch this show. But I mean, apart from that, it's quite nice. It's quite nice to have this little community of people who come together once or twice a week, or sometimes thrice a week, to slag off the fucking Tories for all the shit that they're pulling, for all the absolute fucking shit fuckery that is the Tory party. And I've called this episode Tories Can Only Destroy because that's all they know how to do. That is literally all that Tories know how to do. When they got into power in the 60s, they destroyed the railways. When they got in power in the 80s, they destroyed the unions. And then when they got into power in the 2010s, they destroyed everything. And this is what Tories do. But the problem is, for the Tories, is that the things they try to destroy end up coming back because they're a good idea. Having a decent public transport network in the United Kingdom or anywhere is a good idea. Having unionised labour so that there can be some negotiation between the people who are working for the company and the people making money at the company is a good idea. And although people, like Amazon, companies like Amazon would rather there were no unions, or people like Elon Musk would prefer there were no unions. There are unions, and there always will be unions because they're a good idea. And despite the Tory fucking bastard government not only trying to create this idea where they're going to sack nurses. This is nurses. Those nurses that we clap for, the ones that we desperately need, the ones that we underfund, the ones that we underpay, the ones that have to use food banks in order to feed themselves and their families. Yeah, those nurses, yeah. Apparently they're going to get fired if they don't turn up for work on a strike day. But it's not just nurses that the government can say, well, that's an essential service. It's also school teachers. They want to be able to sack school teachers, another profession of which we have a lot of vacancies at the moment in this country. I don't know why. Can anyone think why? Because the Tories have been in power for 13 fucking years. That's why. 13 years of fucking chaos. Absolute, unremitting, unrelenting chaos. Anyway, so Scribbly says hello. Oh, it's Scribbly. How you doing? And Lefty Boater's here as well. Oh, good old Lefty Boater. Trolls are thin on the ground these days. They have little to say. And what they do say can be taken apart quite easily. Yeah. But that's the problem. What a lot of... sorry, I should say I'm still ill. But I'm here for you. I dragged myself off my deathbed to come and give this little show here. No, it wasn't quite that bad. But I'm going to bed as soon as I finish this. And not for fun. Literally to go to sleep for 1,000 years. But yeah, the trolls, what they do, if you see them on TV, people like Rees-Mogg and these gobshites, that they say a lot of lies very quickly. It's called a gish gallop. We've spoken about this before, haven't we? It's called a gish gallop, and basically they tell so many lies in 30 seconds that the amount of time that you have on the show rebutting them, there's just not enough time to rebut all of the falsehoods that they've said, which is a bit shit. But there you go. Anyway, so talking of trolls, one thing that I didn't pick up on yesterday in PMQs because I didn't hear it, but other MPs did. So when an MP on the other side of the House made a point about the 200 children who have gone missing from hotels that have been block booked by the Home Office for housing refugees. So over 200 children in these homes, in these hotels who are supposed to be being looked after by the Home Office have gone missing. Now, I'm not going to share with you the details of some of the stories that I've heard, but apparently it's not just down in Brighton that this has happened. This is all over the country, and some really horrific stuff is coming to light. Trigger warning, right now, we're talking about children being abused. Children, little kids, being... I don't like the word abused because I think it's too soft for what's actually being done to these children. It's beyond just abuse. It's why it really fucking fucks me off when people talk about kiddie fiddling. No. It's not some fucking game, you morons. It's actually a horrific thing that adults do to children. And this is happening to kids who have been... who have fled war. These are kids who don't have their parents with them. They're effectively orphans, wards of the state, who are waiting for their status as asylum seekers to come through. But that takes over a fucking year because our system is so fucked. And there, when this point was being made, was this horrible little troll man, this little fuck goblin, this absolute sack of scrotal fucking phlegm, sitting there on the Tory benches. This is a Tory MP. And he says audibly, well, they shouldn't have come here illegally then. What a cunt. What a dead cert, cast iron, 100% proof cunt. I hope Jonathan Gullis unalives. I hope Jonathan Gullis unalives in the least painless way possible. For that man is a stain on this nation. He's a stain on humanity. He's talking about children who have been kidnapped by rape gangs in this country. And in his twisted little weasel brain, he thinks they deserved it. He thinks that they got what was coming to them. Ladies and gentlemen, the modern Conservative Party. Tories don't know how to create anything. They could never create something like the NHS. All the Tories know is how to destroy. How to take something that's working perfectly well and destroy it for profit. These are not misguided individuals. These are sick, twisted, psychopathic, sociopathic criminals. And they're running our country into the motherfucking ground. 15 years it's going to take for us to just get to where we should have been 7 years ago. But instead, the Tories wanted us to Brexit, didn't they? I'm just going to come to your comments for a moment, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about Nadine Sahari, because more scandal. Surprise! More scandal. Trolls are thin on the ground. Yeah, Graham, I spent 3 years in the UK with quality teacher status degree from British Department. I was lucky being offered 5 or 6 days as supply teacher and some volunteer in the community centre. Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, the system's fucked. John says, the Tories say they want to shrink the state, but there will come a point where there's so little state, we wind up realising we don't actually need them. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I said the other day, and I stand by it, the Tories don't seem to understand, because they're thick. They don't seem to, and arrogant. They're as thick as they are arrogant. They're so dense. They're denser than a fucking neutron star. That's how fucking dense they are. They're so dense they bend light. But they're also incredibly arrogant. Dunning-Kruger, writ large. The stupider you are, the more ignorant you are, the more arrogant you are that you think you know you're right, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know the vastness of the shit you don't know. I've forgotten more stuff about the world than most people will ever know. And I know that I've forgotten that. I know there's a shitload of stuff that I don't know because I've seen the scope of it. So I try and be a little bit humble. I try not to like pull rank, but sometimes I have to when it comes to things like geopolitics. But I can guarantee I probably know 100 times more than your average bot on the street. And yet I am riddled with self-doubt. I am riddled with imposter syndrome. When I watch videos of me traveling to every country in the world, I actually feel like I'm watching someone else's TV show. A show that somebody else made. Which is a weird sensation, I've got to say. It's the closest I'll get to an out-of-body experience, I think. Anyway, moving on. The Freckled Puny says, Suella is looking quite fragrant these days, quite captivating in the way Medusa captivates you by turning you into stone. Yes, Suella. Cruella Braverman. The woman whose wet dream it is to deport vulnerable children to Central Africa. To a country they don't know. To a country where they don't know anyone. To a place where they speak a language that they do not speak. A place that might be next door to the country that they originally ran from. They originally tried to get away from this country because there was a war going on. It could be DRC. They could be gay and live in Uganda. They could be fleeing from the persecution in Burundi, which still goes on. Little bit of a history lesson. Rwanda, remember the genocide in Rwanda? Yeah, well, after that happened, they stopped putting whether you were Hutu or Tutsi on your government-issued ID cards for obvious reasons. In Burundi, they still have it on their government-issued ID cards, and there's still a lot of ethnic tension. Ethnic tension that was obviously exacerbated by the Belgians and the French and fucking whoever else was fucking hanging around in that part of the world 100 years ago because they wanted to divide and conquer, which they did quite successfully, horrifically successfully. So much so that in 1994, 800,000 people were killed with machetes in the space of a few weeks. And Rwanda doesn't have a particularly great human rights record. It's one of my favourite countries that I went to in Africa for various reasons. I thought the people were amazing. The landscape is incredible. The roads are clean, which is remarkable. But it has been run by a guy called Paul Kagame. I think that's his name, who's been running it since the 90s, and he rules the place with an iron fist and does not allow any dissent or any kind of opposition parties or any kind of free press or anything like that. So we're taking these vulnerable children and we're flying her wet dream, Cruella Braverman, her wet dream, her fantasy, her fucking diddle fuck fantasy is thinking about children being deported, vulnerable children being deported to an autocratic African state. And do you know what? I'm going to put that on that side because it disappears here. I've got a bit of a gap. Need to sort that out. Let me sort out my gap because I don't like having a gap. That's very unprofessional of me. But yeah, the fact that that's what Cruella Braverman wants is disgusting. And also, see, I've got bigger. It's like fucking Alice in Wonderland me. But now I can put my hand there and it'll go behind your words, which I'll just read in a moment. Yes, so let me guess, Graham. Jonathan Segulis. Fucking hate him. He used to be a teacher, Graham. Yeah, I know. Poor kids who were fucking taught by that cunt. Is Gullis trying to compete against Lee Anderson for the same GB News stroke talk TV show? Probably. Jacob Rees-Mogg has now become a presenter on Gammon Box News because apparently it's the only. You've got to say it like in a Jacob Rees-Mogg voice. So I'll try and say, well, you see, it's the only television station that doesn't patronize its viewers. That's what he said. It's fucking quite impressive, really. I mean, lack of self-awareness, that is a very Tory trait, isn't it? Absolute lack of self-awareness that comes from being a Tory. Apparently Rod Stewart, famous tight-ass cunt, Rod Stewart, famous Tory tight-ass cunt, apparently he's even left the Tory party now. Well, I don't think he was a member of the Tory party, but he's voted for Tory for a long time because he's a rich, tight cunt and who makes terrible fucking music. Here you go. Here's my little Here's my little litmus test, okay? So I've got one for film, which is, can this plot line of this movie, the main plot, could it be the story in a soap opera, in a British soap opera? If the answer is yes, don't make that fucking movie. Do not make that movie. You'll be able to see that from the script. Do not make that movie, because it's not a movie. It's a TV show. It's a soap opera that deserves to be on television. I don't want to watch ugly people crying for 2 hours, okay? If I wanted to watch that, I could watch that for free at home, right? So the litmus test for music, is this music any good, right? Is this music rock and roll? Is it cool? Well, could they play it in a nursing home and get away with it? If the answer is yes, that music's shite, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, there's 2 types of music in the world. The stuff you like, the stuff you don't like. But honestly, Coldplay, they could play that in an old person's home. They could play that in a nursing home. And no one will bat an eyelid, because it sounds like some posh fucking choir boy singing to you. If they tried to play Rage Against the Machine, there would be complaints, wouldn't there? Would be complaints. If they tried to play the fucking Sex Pistols, there'd be complaints. Even though that music is now ancient. It's now nearly coming up to 50 years old. Hi, Grandad. Anyway, so yeah, but that's my point. Could it be played in a nursing home, and could they get away with it? And if the answer is yes, generally speaking, I know obviously things are different. Maybe in the 50s and 60s you could get away with doing music like that, but anything that comes from the 90s, you know, my era, or the noughties, and you can play it now in a nursing home, not enough time has passed, mate. Not enough time has passed. What can I say? Okay, so Jonathan Gullett is the modern reincarnation of a former Tory MP, David Evans. Remember him? In the 90s, Evans called the children of a female Labour MP bastards and said the Birmingham Six were guilty. What a cunt. What an absolute fucking cunt. I don't remember him, thank goodness. Wasn't that into politics when I was younger? Well, I do have a degree in it, but I never really... I never really looked into too much. Oh, he died in 2008. Great. Good. Came from a working class background and attended Tottenham Technical College. There you go. And he was on the Luton Town Football Club's board. Member of Parliament. Shortly before losing his seat in early March 1997. Oh, what a time to be alive. In 97, when the Tories were well and truly decimated by the Labour Party. Great days. But March 1997, that's a bit too early. I think that it was May when the election was in 97, if I remember. He attracted controversy over unguarded remarks, twattish remarks, I guess, in an interview by Sixth Formers, in which he referred to opponent Melanie Johnson as a single girl. She was 42 years old at the time, with bastard children. There you go. And claimed that the Birmingham Six were guilty and had killed hundreds before being caught, as well as making remarks considered racist, such as asking how Sixth Formers would feel if their daughter was raped by some black bastard. Wow. Okay, two good upshots to this. The Birmingham Six won substantial damages from Evans in July 1998, who thereafter apologised for what he said and promised never to repeat it. And he died in 2008. And yeah, that's 2 good things about him. He was sued by the Birmingham Six, and he died. There you go. You see, Tories can't create anything; they can only destroy. Right, we're back into so that was a little segue there into the world of David Evans, the Conservative politician. Absolute fucking gobshite. John Barleycorn says, I hope that Gullis retains his seat in the general election and winds up being voted Tory leader because there are so few Conservative MPs to choose from. Guarantees they'll lose in 2029. I think they're going to lose in 2029, whatever happens, but he's Stoke North, isn't he? And I can't see them keeping the Tories. Well, they might do. Stoke people are a bit stokey, if you know what I mean. The current batch of Tory MPs make Thatcher seem woke by comparison. Yep. At least Thatcher could read a scientific fucking paper. Bloody hell. These fucking Tory scum bastards that are in now. I don't think they can read. Full stop. The current batch, yeah, fucked. Graham's system is fucked. It's not fucked. It's manipulated and controlled by Tories. Yes, but that's why it's fucked. Cruella, cowardly. Oh, I can't even say that, Duke. Give me a break. It's too late. Let's start calling her Cruella Brave Omen. I think her antics would make even Damien blush. But she has her fans, like the nanny in The Omen, who hangs herself. You know, it's all for you, Damien. Look at me, Damien. Brexiteers remind me of her. Jacob Wright, Reese Margaret's TV presenter. Yeah, fucking. God. So the soap opera litmus test discounts a lot of classic Northern British cinema of the past few decades. Billy Elliot, Full Monty, Brassed etc. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we make nothing but that. So when the one successful film of the 70 or 80 we make a year in the UK does all right, usually it's because it's something that is a little bit different, just a little bit fantastical in some way. But yeah, we do like making soap operas for the big screen, and then we wonder why they make no money. We do that a lot in this country. And given that we're the country, you know, I didn't personally come up with this shit, but someone who lived here once came up with Dracula, Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, James Bond. You'd think we would get better at making movies of these things, but we don't. We give all that intellectual property to the Americans and say, hey, do you want to make a Winnie the Pooh movie? And the Americans are like, yeah, fuck yeah, we'll make a Winnie the Pooh movie. Do you want to make a Paddington Bear movie? Yeah, we'll make a Paddington Bear movie. I'll tell you what, no, you make it, you'll shoot it in the UK with British actors, and it can all be like done in Britain. We don't care. We'll just take all the money once the actual film comes out. And we're like, yeah, sounds great, man. Sorted. Get out of my way. I'm trying to make a fucking storyline from Emmerdale into a 2-hour movie. Anyway, GB News does not patronise its viewers. No, it's worse. It laughs at them behind their backs. Indeed. Luke says, I've been paying attention to your politics to distract me from the US politics, but lately the Tories have been reminding me of US GOP so much it's not really working. Fair enough, Luke. Jacob... David has just said something about Anne Widdecombe and porn, and that's just, it's literally caused my penis to sort of just retreat into my body about 2 meters, and it's really painful. So please don't do that again. Cheers, mate. Luke said, no, why would you say that? I have an idea for a piss take action movie set in Milton Keynes, says John Barleycorn. Well, I mean, you know, the British movies, and look, I don't have a problem with Brassed Off, don't have a problem with Full Monty, don't have a problem with Billy Elliot. I think they are very good movies, good solid movies, and they're a lot better than a lot of the stuff we make in this country. A lot of the stuff just goes below the radar. Like, these movies come out and no one goes to see them. They come out at like 2 screens in London, which are attended by the filmmakers' friends and family. And I could talk for a long time about the way the British film industry isn't really an industry in the way that you think of as an industry. It's more of like a begging bowl that goes around saying, we want to make a movie, we want to make some money to make a movie. But one of the problems I think that we have in the UK in our mentality is that a lot of the funders for British movies, if you're not going to go to America and get money off Disney or fucking 20th Century Fox, or although that's Disney, or Marvel, I know that's Disney, or Lucasfilm, I know that's Disney. The other Paramount, there you go, that's not Disney yet. But yeah, if you go to a British production company and say, a British commissioner, and say, I want some money to make this movie, that commissioner will by and large be the BBC or ITV or Channel 4. It'll literally be or Film 4 as they call it, but like, it'll be a television station that makes movies. Whereas in America, you'll notice that a lot of the television stations like NBC, CBS, obviously Disney Plus, is owned by a studio. Yeah, not the other way around. And I think that reflects the way that they go about making their movies. I don't know if things have changed now because of obviously the advent of Netflix and Amazon. Yeah, it's a discussion to have another day. I just want to slag off the Tories tonight, so I think I'll just stick with that rather than try and pick a fight about the British film industry. I feel like when British films are really good, they will be that they'll generally be a genre that we don't typically do, but we can do really well if we want to. And yeah, and then the question that I'll just put out there to everyone watching. So, can you name me a British science fiction movie? Not one that was funded by Americans. A British production, a British funded production, science fiction movie. Off you go. I can think of one, by the way. So if anyone gets that, I'll say congratulations. You got that British science fiction movie that actually exists and came out in my lifetime. But I can only think of one. So if you think of two, then even better. Aliens, that's very much American. Flash Gordon's so American. Doctor Who's beating that. No, American. It was American money. And anyway, Doctor Who's not really science fiction. It's space fantasy more than science fiction. Because science fiction is supposed to be that it could happen, whereas Doctor Who is like Star Wars. I mean, he's got a magic wand, for fuck's sake. Quatermass and the Pit, very good. Number 3, but that was made for TV. It didn't come out at the cinema. Doctor Who and the Daleks. No. Star Wars again. It was filmed in the UK. British crew. And yeah, but American money. Harry Potter. No, American. And it's not sci-fi anyway. But yeah, that was all Warner Brothers. Heyman Films produced it, which is David Heyman's production company. But the money came from Warner Brothers, and the legacy money goes to Warner Brothers. So I think all the cast just got what they got for being in the film. Well, maybe not the leads, but most of the cast got a set amount of pay for being in the film. The technicians, camera operators, all that kind of stuff, they got a set amount. They don't still get royalties to this day when people buy the DVD, unlike Warner Brothers, which obviously does. Triffids, no. Robin Hood, no. Robin Hood, like, famously, wasn't it? It was just like they just kept on making these American Hollywood Robin Hood films. Robin Hollywood, the Life and Times of Angry Jack, that doesn't exist. Children of Men, very good guess, but actually not a British film. Again, it was paid for by Americans. You're circling around, actually. If Children of Men's around the right era. RoboCop, no, definitely. You mean that movie full of Americans are set in future Detroit? Yeah. But yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Anyway, right. So I talked a little bit about Jonathan Gullis and how disgusting he is. I was going to talk a little bit about Nadim Zahawi. So this guy, he tried to get away with earning £27 million from the sale of shares of his in YouGov, in the polling company which he helped found. And he pretended that these shares weren't his or something, and the money that came from the shares wasn't his. And he got blown up by an investigative journalist who said, no, actually, it looks here like you owe the taxman a lot of money. And instead of saying, oh, my mistake, you're right, I will sort that out immediately. What Zahawi did was he tried to sue the journalist for fucking libel. Nice. So, what's come out today in the select committee this morning is that I think it was this morning. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again at some point. 28 days later, do you know what? 28 days later, you are completely in the right ballpark. You've actually got the right director. And yeah, that is a British production, but that's a horror film. I wouldn't call it sci-fi, but you're on very much the right lines. Sherlock Holmes, first of all, not sci-fi. Secondly, definitely American. Johnny Seagulls, I don't think that exists. Peppa Pig's Boris' favourite movie. No, that's not an actual sci-fi movie. A sci-fi movie. Would you count Terry Gilliam's Brazil as sci-fi? Yes, I would. But it was funded by, famously, an American production company. American studio. So much so that it was it who was it? Was it Universal Artists or was it Universal? United Artists or Universal. I don't know, but basically Terry Gilliam had to take out a full page ad in, like, I don't know, the New York Times or something, imploring the studio to release his movie because they shelved it because they thought it was too weird. Attack the Block. Ooh, that could be argued as sci-fi. That's a good okay. I'll have to think about that. Attack the Block, very good movie. And with Doctor Who in it, and one of the stormtroopers from the new Star Wars movies, and it was written or directed by the guys, what are they called? Adam Buxton and what's Adam Buxton's mate called? Fuck, he's like a proper screenwriter now in Hollywood. Yep, someone will tell me. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. No, a message about Sunshine. Yes, Don Donovan has got it. Sunshine. With Cillian Murphy, and it was directed by Danny Boyle, and that was a British science fiction movie. It was funded by a British studio, if you like. Joe Cornish, that's it. Adam and Joe. It must be Sunshine. Yes, it is. You are absolutely right. And that's the only proper science fiction movie. And yeah, you could argue Attack the Block is science fiction because it's aliens, isn't it? It's not really though, is it? It's an action movie. I don't know if the bad guys in Die Hard were aliens, would that automatically make it a science fiction movie? I don't know. Okay, we'll have honourable mentions for Attack the Block and for 28 Days Later, I think. Sunshine is one of the things that Tories would blame for something going wrong, along with Moonlight and The Boogie. Indeed. Mr. Bean Goes to Space. Michelle Yeoh was in it. Yes, indeed. But yeah, Sunshine, pretty good movie, actually. I think it kind of lost its way in the third act a little bit, but there's some great visuals in that film, I feel. But then there were these great sort of movies from the 1970s, like Logan's Run, which actually, it's one of those films that you watch it and it's like, it's such a strong idea, but it could have just been executed a bit better, but obviously there's limitations at the time. But you've essentially got Jenny Agutter, who's the most quintessential British actor at the time, female actor, and then you've got Basil Exposition, the guy who plays Basil Exposition from Austin Powers playing against her. So it comes across as like a British production, but it's not. If you're talking Danny Boyle movies, surely there's nothing more science fiction than the world in which no one's heard of the Beatles. #rubbish film. I never saw Yesterday. Catherine's watching, so it was all right. But yeah, it was Richard Curtis. Maybe he's just running out of steam. I don't know. Cillian Murphy is very good in it. Yeah, he's very intense. It's the eyes, I think. Wow, that's a heck of a cast. Chris Evans, Benedict Wong, Henry Sanana. It's a good movie. Check it out. No, it's Chris Evans. It's the American Chris Evans, Captain America. It's not British Big Breakfast Chris Evans. That's a different person. Okay, so anyway, back to Zainab Badawi. Fucking hell, what am I talking about? Back to Nadim Zahawi, and so basically, there's now just come out that there is a question mark over these 30 million pounds worth of loans that were given to his wife's property company between the years of 2017 and 2021. Now, this is significant, right? I was talking about this the other day. Why would Boris Johnson want an £800,000 loan? Because you don't have to pay tax on a loan. And if you want to give someone money and you want it to be a gift, but you don't want them to pay tax on it because it's a fuckload of money, you say it's a loan without expecting for it to be paid back. See, it's a clever little get out. And it's why multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all those cunts, they actually live off loans. They go to the bank and say, I own X amount of stock in these businesses. I own X amount of property. give us $50 million. And the banks go, okay, well, we'll secure it against all this shit you own. Even though in Trump's case, he inflates the actual worth of everything he's got. They go, here you go. Deutsche Bank will go, here you go, it's $50 million. And Trump will be like, yeah, thanks, man. And he'll go around being a horrible little twat for a year, spending all the money. And then after the year's up, he'll either default on the loan or he'll get another one and he'll use that second loan to pay off the first one or whatever. But the fact is that he's earned all that money. He's made all that money to spend on whatever shit he wants. But the reality is he's not paid tax on it. So it's a nice little way of getting around paying tax, which is the mindset of the Tories. It's a mindset of the Tory party, the GOP. Every right-winger in the fucking world, all they want is to have things for free and not to have to pay tax for their maintenance and upkeep. They want people to be educated so that people can buy their books and read about them in the newspaper, so they have to be able to read. And they want them to be able to be, numerate so they can buy their stuff that they're trying to flog. But they don't want to actually have to pay for all that to be done. They don't want to pay for society to exist. They just want it to magically exist with other people's money. They don't want to give anything towards it. And it's not just the Tory politicians. It is basically everyone of that ilk who thinks that it's all a big fucking game. And the game is pay as little tax as possible. Pay the absolute minimum that you can get away with. And that's why we have two terms. We have tax evasion, which is against the law, and tax avoidance, which isn't. Seriously, if you are avoiding the right amount of tax to pay, that should be a crime. If there's something in the road and you swerve to miss it, you could say you avoided it. You could also say you evaded it. Just saying. Yeah, indeed. Well, it's a heck of a crust. My right ear is 25 minutes late. My left one only one. We'll just watch it in double speed, and I'll sound like this and really speed it up, and it'll be really funny. Yeah, don't do that. Anyway, so after this select committee this morning, in which but one of the guys from the HMRC was basically quizzed about what it meant when someone was careless. And he said, well, actually, it's a technical term that they use. It's a legal term that they use in tax collection when someone is careless. And the difference is this. If you make a mistake and it absolutely, wasn't your fault, then you have to pay the tax you owe, but you won't have a penalty on top of it. Now, if you can prove that it was completely unintentional, you didn't mean to do it, you weren't being careless, which is a charitable way of saying, yeah, I tried to game the system. But if you have been careless, it means that you have actively done something to not pay as much tax as you should. And obviously they can't prove intent, I guess, but they can say, look, this is the nicest possible way we can say this. You've been careless. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. But you have to pay a fucking big fine. 30%. 30% of the tax that you owe, on top of the tax that you owe, you have to pay that for being careless. So there are a lot of questions swirling around Zahavi at the moment. One of the biggest ones, I guess, is why are the Conservative Party still sticking up for this cunt? Why is he still the chairman of the Tory party when obviously he's a fucking crook? I mean, we know the answer to that. They're all fucking crooks. They are all absolute fucking crooks. And they're destroying this country, and they are lining their pockets with the remaining cash of this nation as they do so. Any tax avoidance unintentional if it amounts to over $1 million. Fancy that, says Yoni. It's almost as though they have a law for the rich and another law for people who aren't rich, which is the vast majority of us. Well, there you go. Cillian Murphy did a screen test for Batman. He ended up playing Scarecrow instead. I think I would have preferred him, to be honest. I think I would have preferred Cillian Murphy over Christian Bale. Something about Christian Bale just annoys me. I know that's probably a bit churlish, but It just annoys me. Although I do like the fact that he's British, and it always freaks people out when he talks with his actual British accent. And he's a child actor, you know. He was in Empire of the Sun, Spielberg movie from the late 80s. He was a kid in that. But yeah, I like the fact that he played Batman and the all-American hero Batman, and he also played American Psycho when he's not American. It's cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit like Henry Cavill. Isn't he British, I think? And he played Superman, the quintessential American hero. The other one. What a load of bollocks, says Duke Vengeance. Oh, thanks, mate. I thought I was doing all right. You tried fucking sitting here and blabbing on about fucking Tories for an hour without going off on tangents about British movies. Bale had an uncredited role in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, I guess. Cool. All right, next pop quiz question. No Googling, Star Trek fans. What was the name of the episode of the original series of Star Trek that Wrath of Khan was a sequel to? Go on, throw that in the chat, motherfuckers. Come on. Can anyone claiming more benefits than they're entitled to, intentional or not, use the bent Sahari as a test case? No. If it's benefits and you've taken a little bit more than you should, then you have to be hung, drawn and quartered under the Tory junta. You missed me comments. Sorry. What a load of bollocks. What? Sorry, Duke. I know you weren't having a go at me. I was just taking the piss. Oh, wow. 2 correct answers in quick succession. We got Shizazek32 and we got John Barleycorn with Space Siege. Straight in there. Fuck. Okay, you two are on. You're on the quiz team. Come meet me. We're doing this quiz. Number 3, I was fined a few times for late VAT payments when I had a limited co as a freelance software engineer. I was too depressed to deal with the paperwork. No excuses allowed. Yeah, exactly. The money was just resting in my mum's account. It was just resting in my account. Father Ted reference there. I like it. So yeah. So basically, along with Rishi Sunak's wife still being listed as non-dom, I think, or as she's not non-dom anymore, but she diddled the British taxpayer out of, what was it, something like £30 million that she would have had to pay had she not declared non-dom status, even though she was living in Britain. And I think this comes to the fundamental crux of the problem that we have in society at the moment, and why I feel like revolution might be our only option at this point, because we need to shake things up. We need to change everything. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Although the poor don't think they're poor, so you can't use the word poor because they get all their fucking back up. It's a bit like, telling someone that their child is ugly when they are. You just can't say it, or that tattoo looks shit. Yeah, you can't get away with it. But the fact is that if you are rich, you get loads of stuff for free. You rich. Fucking John Q taxpayer over here subsidizes your private education. Not only do we subsidize your private education, we subsidize your fucking skiing trips, your fucking musical instruments, your fucking sporting equipment, to the tune of millions. Millions per school. Winchester last year scored £3 million off the taxpayer, effectively, by not having to pay tax. Because it's charity. I mean, in what bungle-headed fucking bongo fucking land do you have to fucking live in your head to believe that the richest children in the nation need a charity? Hey, look at this. Look at this poor little rich kid. Their parents are only multi-billionaires. Quick, They need charity. They need our support. £3 million to one school, to Winchester, in a year. Every year. Every fucking year. One school. Meanwhile, inner city comps get fuck all. Tory Britain. Tory Britain. That would be an ecumenical matter. No, that would be an accounting matter, indeed. This might be an unpopular opinion, but it seems that neither Brits or Americans have ever grokked the concept of taxes. Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think that the fact that we pay tax should be something that we celebrate. And something that we want to do to make society better. Because society can't function without taxes. It can't function without people giving money into a big pot and that pot being used to help other people in that society fucking live life to the full. And this is another thing that is wrong with the Tory mentality, the psychopathic Tory mentality. They think that you grow an economy by making the rich richer. What? What? Are these stupid cunts just landed from another fucking planet? Have they never seen what rich fuckers do with their money? First of all, they scribble it away in offshore bank accounts. Secondly, they spend it on fucking yachts. What the fuck? To travel around the Caribbean and the Mediterranean? They don't spend it in the UK. They buy designer clothes from Paris. They buy cars from another fucking country. They buy fucking Ferraris and Maseratis. They don't buy fucking Ford Cortinas from the 1970s, for Christ's sake. They spend any money in this country. Any extra money they get, they invest in shit. Somewhere else, usually. You want to make money for your country. You want to grow your economy. You give money to people who live here and aren't going to go and jet over to the other side of the fucking world for 7 months a year. And they spend it in their community. And then the people they spend it on, the shops in their community, well, then they go on to spend more money in their community. And it builds the economy. The Scandinavian countries know this. They've got their heads fucking screwed on. Most European countries have got this into their thick skulls. But Britain and America, no. No, we need to grow the economy. How do we do that? Oh, we need to make the rich richer. We need to make the rich richer. It seems to work in America. It seems to work, but only. It's a mirage. It doesn't work. It's not that's driving the American economy. What is driving the American economy is the fact that all oil transactions everywhere in the world. So if you are in Iraq and you are from South Africa and you're selling oil to someone from the Netherlands, that transaction has to be done in US dollars. That gives America the equivalent of a magic fucking checkbook. It can just print as much money as it needs to and it'll never default because it's too big to fail. So America's sorted. The people who live in America, who have to put up with the shit that is living in America at the moment, grinding poverty and incarceration rate 1,000 times what it is in any normal fucking country, a military spend of 50 cents in every dollar, oh my God, and the fact that the streets are not safe anywhere in the country because every cunt's got a gun. Hats off to the NRA. They've been working very hard over the last sort of 20 odd years, since the Columbine massacre, to make sure that everyone goes, well, if I have a gun at home, it'll stop my child being shot dead in school. Because that's how things work. I think. I don't know. Don't know how anything works. Let's all buy guns. Anyway. Sorry, my question was rhetorical. Yes, I was probably just joking. I don't know. So Harvey uses parents' company to funnel the money. If they don't find him guilty, I'll flip. They won't, mate, because he's rich and powerful. This might be and who's investigating? This is quite interesting. Who is investigating these violations of the ministerial code, if you want to call it that? Let's have a look because they're on my wonderful website, privateschoolmafia.com. If you want to look up their names and where they went to, I'll give you a crib sheet here that they went to They went to Eton. Of course they went to Eton. So, he can't claim carelessness when he intentionally funneled money in that way. Well, you know, he will try. He will try. Oh, for fuck's sake. Come on, Facebook, you pile of shit. I need to find these people's names. And my internet is running like disgustingly slow. And for some reason it won't go to my page. There we go. I should have just typed in that Ginger Scouts to start with. Sorry, I'm just sitting here waiting for pictures to arrive. My internet is so shit. I actually cancelled my subscription to BT this week because they're just the fucking worst. I signed up to them 2 years ago, and within a month of me signing up to them, they pushed the price up. And they don't guarantee speeds, uploads or downloads at all, and they're just shite. It's absolutely. They said, "Why are you leaving?" And I said, "Do you want the list?" I just read out. It's just like, "Is there nothing we can do to get you to stay?" And I'm like, absolutely not. No. And I get this questionnaire afterwards because you've always got to review everything these days. You fucking make a cup of tea for yourself. You got to write a fucking review for it. And it came up with like, how likely are you to recommend BT as a broadband provider to anyone? I was like 0. Anyway, So Nadeem Zahari will be investigated for his tax affairs and whether he is a cunt by Sir Laurie Magnus, formerly of Eton and Oxford alumnus, I guess. He is the 3rd Baron of Tangley. Tangley. Hello, I'm the Baron of Tangley. Weird. Okay, and the BBC chair, Richard Sharp, who got his job by brokering a massive loan for Boris Johnson, the sexually incontinent gobshite, the reincarnation of Caligula, fat Caligula. Richard Sharp will be investigated by royal biographer and defender of torture. Yes, he defended waterboarding. William Shawcross, formerly of Eton and Oxford. Wow. What can I say? You know, I think some people, maybe not you watching this now, maybe, you know, maybe in some strange way you're kind of fond of the way I go off on one constantly about the situation in the United Kingdom right now, but there are some that get very agitated that I keep banging on about private schools and how damaging they are, and they'll say things like, I went to a private school and I'm not a cunt, like that makes it all right. So basically if I go, oh my god, the statistics in the UK show that only one rapist goes to jail for every 99 that get away with it. And people go, well, I'm not a rapist. Okay. What do you want me to do with that information? We've got a problem, and your solution to this problem is to go, well, I didn't do it. I'm helping. But yeah. I do go on about it a lot because I really genuinely feel disgusted that we have a system in which if you are born rich, you are put into a VIP lane for all of the 6-figure salary jobs in the country. All of them. Across the board, whether it's being CEO of companies, whether it's being an actor or an elite athlete, usually not a footballer, I was going to say, because that's the one profession that actually working class kids do manage to get breaks in quite a lot, which is why in those fucking newspapers, which are basically sixth form printed rags from these private schools, don't forget that they're owned by and run by the private school alumni, private school fucking mafia. These newspapers will often attack how much footballers earn. Now, I believe, I'm not massively into football, as some of you might know, but I believe that those footballers are worth it. In the same way that an actor who gets $1 million for being in a film is worth it if that movie is then going to take $1 billion at the box office. If people are going to turn up to watch this footballer play, then yeah, if they can generate that kind of income, great, they can have it. I don't mind. But you never ever see in the Express or the Mail or the Scum newspaper or the fucking Tory graph, you never see stories about how disgraceful it is that some cunt who's on a board of directors, a company in the city of London, only does 2 hours work a week and he manages to take home 1.5 million a year. You never see a story about that. And yet a professional footballer who is an athlete at the top of their game, who can only realistically be at the top of the game for about 10 years, if that, oh, they're earning too much. You know how much they earn a week? They earn this much a week. Today, it was there was a footballer who was done for a drink driving offence. I think he played for Leeds, maybe. Or Newcastle. He played for Newcastle. And the way it was presented by the privately educated newsreader on this, reading from an auto cue that was written by someone who's privately educated, was that he was fined less than a week's wages. He was fined like £29,000. I mean, it was a lot. I think he should have been fined more for drink driving. I think it should have been something that would really make a big dent to his salary. But the fact that they reported it in that way, less than a week's salary for this kind of, person, because that guy is working class, I think. I don't know. I've not looked him up. But they feel like he shouldn't earn that money. That's the underlying thing. That was on LBC. It wasn't even in the fucking tabloid newspapers. On Global, which is owned by some privately educated cunt, set up by a privately educated cunt. And yeah, these people control the way you feel about a lot of things. And it's not just footballers and how much they earn, which people like to harp on about. It's also things like Meghan Markle and how we feel about her. They control how you feel about Hillary Clinton. And it's not like things that you can point to that you can go, Hillary Clinton put out this tweet and it was disgusting. Hillary Clinton said this thing about disabled people and it was disgusting. Hillary Clinton said this thing about raping people and it was disgusting, or sexually assaulting people. And it was just, you can't point to anything that they've done. You can only point to the thing that they've done that that has passed through the lens of this gutter press, of the privately educated media, which wants you to think a certain way. And I like you think for yourself. You watch this channel. We discuss stuff. We don't always agree on everything. Obviously, I think probably a little bit less of British movies than you do. I don't know, but I will say that I don't hate British movies. I just think that they could be improved somewhat. But then again, I think that the Star Wars prequels and sequels could be improved somewhat. The sequel trilogy. I also think that the odd-numbered Star Trek films could be improved. A lot of things could be improved in life, but I would like a British film industry to exist. I don't believe that it does at the moment. But I do find it interesting that when it comes to matters of how much people earn, there's always this shock and horror that footballers are earning X amount. And another interesting one is when people talk about how much MPs earn. I don't give a fuck that MPs earn 82,000 a year. Good MPs, they do enough work. And if they worked in the private sector, they'll earn more than that. I don't mind that. I don't mind that they get paid that. There's 650 of them. I think, well, if you're doing a good job, fine. You're representing your constituents, you turn up to your surgeries, you turn up to Parliament, you vote, you get involved. Great. Just don't spend the whole fucking time on holiday or you can fuck off. However, what I feel like the news should be harping on about is the second jobs these cunts have. Is the fact that they're on the boards of directors of these different companies and they take home millions from that. Jacob Rees-Mogg is worth over 100 million. Fucking the Rishi Sunak is worth over 700 million. And they have got these massive revenue streams coming in all the time. Boris Johnson, when he was Prime Minister, he was writing for the fucking Telegraph newspaper, earning £250,000 a year for writing like a fucking column a week, if that. No. You're an MP, that's your job. That's the only job. You're not allowed to moonlight. You're not allowed to be on the board of directors of any other company. That's your job. And then I wouldn't complain about the money that they're getting. I feel like some elements of the newspapers complain about how much MPs are getting, because a lot of MPs, especially on the opposition benches, come from working class or middle class backgrounds and didn't go to private school. And if they didn't have their MP money coming in, they wouldn't be able to basically look after their families, feed their families, for fuck's sake. They need that income. And if they're going to be going down to London all the time, yes, they need expenses. They need an office wherever they are in the country. And so they need expenses. They need to be able to employ people and take that from their MP's expenses. I get that. That's fine. That's fine by me. But I do find it very interesting that the newspapers tend to go, oh, look, this working class person, look how much they earn. And then let's talk about reality TV stars, because the newspapers are obsessed about how much money they earn as well, in a way that they don't bang on mercilessly about how disgraceful it is someone who's very posh and won an Oscar because they're posh, or because they're given the acting opportunities to be an actor in these movies that are going to win Oscars, like Benedict Cumberbatch and Eddie Redmayne and Olivia Colman. I mean, I love them. I think they're fucking fantastic. I think they're really, really good actors, but they're very posh. They're all privately educated, as is pretty much anyone who's won an Oscar from this country in my lifetime. Anyway, but yeah, it's the way that the information that we consume, even if we do it by osmosis, is fed to us. Newspapers don't give us the news. They tell us what happened yesterday, for fuck's sake. So it's not the news. We've already read the news the day before. What newspapers do is give their opinion about what's happened, their opinion about the news. I think we should not. I don't think they should be called newspapers, to be honest with you. I think they should be called shit rags, because that's what they are. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up. It's been an hour. God, that flies, doesn't it? Does that fly for you? Or does it feel like an hour? Does it feel like really fucking arduous? You're sitting there going, Graham, read my fucking comment, you cunt. And getting angry because I'm not reading comments. I'm actually just yakking on. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, which I may or may not read. But I'm going soon, so if anyone wants to throw in a super chat tonight, then now's the time to do it, because otherwise, if you leave it a couple of minutes, it'll be too late. Not being investigated by Jimmy Carr, though, then. Yeah, indeed. I don't like Jimmy Carr. He looks like and sounds like a haunted ventriloquist dummy. He can sometimes be quite funny, and I like some of his burns have been particularly funny, but I just don't like him as a person. I don't think I'd get on with him. He's just a bit snipey. I don't know. But then again, you know what? Just between you and me, I don't think that I would particularly get on with Stuart Lee in real life, because he takes too fucking long to say anything. I just get impatient. A little ADHD brain is like, will you just get to the fucking point, Stuart? Stuart, will you get to the fucking point? Anyway, he probably wouldn't want to hang out with me, because I was at the V Festival, maybe? It was either V or Leeds many moons ago, and I was on the phone at the time to my then girlfriend, and I walked into the comedy tent, and Stuart Lee was on, and he picked on me, and he was doing his sketch where he met the director of the Incredible Hulk movie, whose name is Ang Lee, and he was making a joke about the fact that it sounds like angry, and he was making a joke about being able to say, you won't like me when I'm angry, because that sounds a bit like angry, and he really labours this joke. And I'd actually heard this joke twice before at other Stuart Lee stand-ups. And so I said loudly on the phone, I've got to go. I'm being like heckled by Stuart Lee. No, he's doing that fucking thing about Ang Lee directing The Incredible Hulk again. And I just hung up, and he was like, you're a cunt. So yeah, he probably wouldn't like me. Anyway, the facts are, but I totally agree with this politics, by the way, with Stuart Lee. I think he's completely 100% on. But it just takes a bit too long to get to the point. I don't know if anyone else feels like that. The fact that Harvey has not been suspended by investigators is a joke and disgrace. The Deputy Speaker, Nigel Evans, was suspended when sexual allegations were investigated, for example. Yeah, because the Tories just don't give a fuck anymore. One footballer fed the children. Yeah, that's true, actually. Sunak had a phone to phone a friend. Do you know what? Talking about Marcus Rashford there, about the footballer who fed the children, they often talked about how much he earned in the newspapers, if you notice that. In a way that they don't really do for other people. You know, like if Hugh Grant's in the news for saying that we shouldn't Brexit, it's not like Hugh Grant, who earned £1.4 million last year, said XYZ. They don't mention it. Hugh Grant, again, private school mafia. I like him, you know. I think he's good as an actor. I prefer him now than I did in the 1990s. He just fucked me off in the 1990s because in every movie he was in, he just played the same character at 4 weddings and a funeral. It was just and that character became the inspiration for Boris Johnson's persona that he projects when he's being Boris Johnson on, you know, when he knows the cameras are on. I don't really get how deep the educational gorge is in GB, but then again, I'm a Finn. We have a level playing field here. You do indeed, and I'm so fucking jealous, Yoni, of the fact that the Finns, quite rightly, outlawed private schools in the 1950s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think happened in Finland, and Finland has the best education system on the planet. Yeah. And I just can't express this enough. We have private schools set up for the children of billionaires that are charities for some reason. They're subsidised by the taxpayer. So when they say, oh, but if we shut them all down and these kids go to state schools, who's going to pay for that? It will actually be cheaper. It would be cheaper than keeping these cunt farms open, okay? So you've got this situation. It's just fucking madness that this is happening. And then they get a fast track, they get the VIP lane to the best jobs in the country. All of the six-figure jobs in the country, six-figure salary jobs in the country, you get a fast fucking track to it if you enter a private school. Doesn't matter what private school you went to, by the way. On my list of, you know, the private school mafia, privateschoolmafia.com, there's over 500 people on that list, well over 500, and they're from a variety of school. Yes, a lot of them are from Eton, but not all, by any stretch of the imagination. So this goes for pretty much all schools in the UK that are private. And I tell you this, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. Having a millionaire on the governors of my local comp here in Durham, or having a millionaire in the PTA, would be boss. Have a think. I don't know if you're involved in your kid's school or anything. Lots of fundraising going on. And one of my friends is very involved in their school fundraising. And they were really pleased with themselves because they managed to raise £10,000 in a year towards the school through various quiz nights, raffles, bingo, whatever. £10,000. That's, you know, that's not to be sniffed at. That is good. But that's chicken feed, literally, to a billionaire. Or even a millionaire. And if their kid went to that school and they're like, we're still using textbooks from the 70s, do you reckon you could help us out? I think that would improve the outlook for that school and everyone who went to that school immeasurably. Hashtag just saying. Woo! HK is there with £10 super chat. Thank you, HK. Thanks, Graham, for staying strong on your beliefs. Quality. Cheers. I'm guessing HK agrees with me about British films. Could be better. The British film industry. Sorry. We make one good film a year. I would like us to make 50 good films a year. You know, that's my ambition. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in this country. The best directors of all time: Charlie Chaplin, David Lean, Alfred Hitchcock. I can't say Kubrick was British because he was from New York, but he lived in Britain for the majority of his life, and he was a total Anglophile. If he could have just made all his movies here, oh, actually, no, he did. He would have done. So yeah, like. Christopher Nolan, British director. Obviously, Danny Boyle, British director. Ridley Scott, British director. I mean, some of the movies that you love the most were either directed by or written by or starring British talent. And it's incredibly infuriating for me that we don't make our own movies. There's a great article about this. I'm sorry I'm going on a bit. It's 18 minutes past now. I should really wind up. But I'm just going to wind you up instead. There was a great article written by Stephen Fry, privately educated, back in the 1980s, I think, when he used to write for... I'm going to say The Guardian. I don't know, the Times or something. He used to write for one of the newspapers in the 80s. And he had a column, and he wrote about the British film industry. It was a bit like us finding oil under the ground in Britain. And we're like, we just need a drill, and we can get to this oil. Can we have some money? And we asked private investors, and they're like, no, it's too risky. What if the drill breaks? So we asked the government, can we have a loan so we can drill this oil and then we'll make loads of money? No, we can't do that. What if you can't pay back the loan? And so we end up going to America and saying, hey guys, could we possibly borrow a drill? And they're like, I'll tell you what, we'll give you the drill and then we will drill your oil. We will take your oil, we'll package it all up in the US flag, and then we will sell it back to you at a profit for us. And we're like, okay then. I thought it was a fantastic analogy, because that's what we do with our movies. If you imagine our talent as a well of oil, we go, America, do you want this talent? And America's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I do. Oh, great. So all British people want to invest in is property. Don't forget, when we think about people who have taken a risk and gone out there, the pioneers around the world, the settlers, the colonialists. I know they were cunts, but they were the ones who took a fucking risk, or had to take a risk if they were Irish. But if they were British, they were people who wanted to take a risk, and that risk gene has been handed down through the generations. That's why Americans are more likely to invest in mad shit, which sometimes is good because it means they'll invest in movies that we want to be made. But sometimes it's a bit bad because they'll invest in things like cryptocurrency and NFTs. Well, you're not getting your money back, mate. Sorry. Tried to warn you. No one listens to me. Anyway, Tony Hancock, Ridley Scott. Tony Hancock, the only man named after 4 parts of the human body. Tony Hancock. Number 3, that's a Shooting Stars joke, I think. We can do all that now we've left the EU, can't we? No. The closest I get to owning my own house is building a wood shack in Minecraft. Yeah, Duke, I'm not going to own a house in this country. Yeah. Maybe if I managed to sell my island for fuckloads of money, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's going underwater. Quickly, a big shout out to all the comments that I've missed. I'll go through them all. There's not that many. Sunak had to phone a friend, and we all know he doesn't have any working class ones, indeed. I don't really know how deep the education gap is. I've read that one. People in my dukedom adore me, indeed. Oops, seems we're paying £222,000 for Johnson's Partygate legal fees. What the fuck? £222,000 for Johnson's legal fees. Fuck me. What is with these people? What is with the 21% of the population who still say they're going to vote for these cunts? Fucking hell. You got to imagine half the country is below average intelligence. That's just statistics. And half of them are below the average of that intelligence. And that's where you get the Tories, I guess. Wow. I don't get the class society. My father was born as a son of a crofter with no property and ended his career as a dean of the largest faculty in the largest university in Finland. That's amazing, Yoni. And that is the American dream right there. There you go. Someone growing up poor who can get to the top of their field. We can't do that in this country because the top echelons are absolutely dominated by the rich. Born rich. People who are born rich. And I'm sick and tired of hearing people saying they're self-made. I'm a self-made millionaire. No one is self-made. They are society-made. And in this country, they're society plus rich parents made. You take the fear of losing everything away from someone, and yeah, they can fucking achieve amazing things. I've not, so far in my life, had the fear of losing everything. I'm not married. I don't own property in this country. I won my island in a fucking game show. It's not like I really worked hard for it. And I don't have kids of my own. And so, the idea of me being on the streets, it's not going to happen. I have that safety net. And it's not just my parents, it's my friends, my family, that they wouldn't allow me to end up in that predicament. But I do want to help people who haven't got that safety net, and I want them to have it. I want everyone in this country to not have that fear of losing everything. But these fuckers in charge bank on people's fear of losing everything in order to absolutely control every aspect of our lives. They talk about having a small government, don't they? The Tories. They don't mean that. They don't mean one fucking syllable of that term. They want to dominate your life. They want a totalitarian system where they decide where you work, the hours you work, the people that you hang out with, the person you're allowed to marry. They want to control that. They want to control every aspect of your life. They want to stop you from striking. They want to stop you from voting for the wrong party. They want to stop you travelling. They want to stop you living in other countries, which they've successfully done now. Thank you very much. Tory scum. They want you controlled. They want you subservient. They want to shut up and take it. But we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it. We're fucking sick of this shit. The sooner this Tory scum government is out, the better. Okay, well, listen, for my £10 of super chats, I think I've, gone above and beyond the call of duty. Just about earned minimum wage. Actually, I wouldn't have earned minimum wage because Google take a slice of that. Never mind. No, don't sell Ginger Island. Yeah, I don't intend to. But if push comes to shove, if I'm really desperate, I will have to sell it. But I don't want to. I don't want to. Well said, Graham. Thank you very much, David. So, listen, I love you all. I will see you on Monday. Oh, wow, thank you. Thank you very much, HK. Another £10 from HK. HK's holding this show together at the moment. Thank you very much for bankrolling the war on Emma. This is for calling Suella chinless. She has no fucking chin. Neither has Andrew Taint. You know that fucker, that rapist cunt who's in fucking jail now in Bulgaria? He's got no chin. Have you noticed? He's got no fucking chin. Where's your fucking chin, gobshite? There's a great still frame from the Preacher comic, if you ever read the Preacher comic, and it's the Preacher guy, he's gone and just fucking fucked up things for these Ku Klux Klan motherfuckers, and he says, why are you like white supremacists always the least like the poorest example of the white race? He just screams in this guy's face, where is your fucking chin? Yeah, indeed. HK, you start. No, you start. You fucking start. Right. Yes, indeed. The American left are doing this weird self-blaming thing over Andrew Tate. Listen, we need to talk about this another time, but the left need to learn that the way to win the culture wars, the everything wars, the war on error, everything is through language, essentially. It's through language. The left tend to make people feel bad about themselves, whereas the right tend to make people feel good about themselves. And I'll say this, the left have a knack for making good people on the left feel guilty for not doing enough. Whereas the right make racists, and rapists, and psychopaths, and sociopaths, sexist, misogynistic pigs feel good about themselves. And that's the problem. We need to make good people feel good about themselves. And we need to make those cunts on the other side feel fucking awful. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll take a long walk off a short pier. Okay, right, I'm off. I will see you on Monday for the next round of the War on Error. I'll be back on Monday at 9 o'clock, bright and early. So I hope to see you then. And have a great weekend. And I hope I haven't done this cold next week. I'd really like it to really fucking go away. And Michael Puny gets the last comment. I'm self-made, sort of. Victor Frankenstein put me together. I know the feeling. So thanks to all my patrons. Thanks to all of my YouTube members and everyone watching. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.